6 p.m., February 21st, 2023. I call to order this Oconee County Council meeting. As a reminder, the public has two times that they can speak in council meeting. The first is public comments, and the second is public hearing, if there's one scheduled. Other than those two times, the public should remain silent during the council meeting. Anyone making a disturbance during the meeting will be asked to leave council chambers for the remainder of the meeting. Also, as a reminder, please ensure that you follow the county's legal prohibition against engaging in partisan political activity, including speech, during this meeting. This meeting is not called for that activity, and such activity is prohibited by law. Moment of silence, please. Mr. Root?
Yes, sir. Pray with me if you'd like to. Well, dearest Father, thank you again for this day that you have made. And I pray that you would help us to remember that you are the maker of this day and the creator of our beings. You make it so we can live and move and interact and come to events like this. And so I'm very appreciative, and I pray that you would keep in us mindful and thankful hearts, grateful hearts. Thank you tonight for this great turnout of the public. I pray that that would engender to council the ability, a better ability to carry out the public's will, and that you give council your insight, your wisdom, that this would be your meeting, that we'd all be slow to speak and slow to anger, but very quick to listen, and that we'd listen for your voice, and that you'd guide us. In your name I pray, amen.
Amen. Might as well leave the pledge, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the January 17th, 2023 special minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there a motion to approve the January 17th, 2023 regular minutes?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Mr. Root?
I have no comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Ms. Brock?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman and members of council, and delighted to see so many members of the public. I have received several inquiries over the last month regarding Sewer South. I just wanted to state for the record and for the public's benefit that the basin study presentation, which was the council's special meeting on January 17th at 5 p.m., depicted a map of a 20 to 30 year rollout and investment period for sewer. It had several colors on it. It is on Oconee's YouTube channel as the special meeting, January 17th at 5 p.m. That map is not indicative of the current Sewer South project. The Sewer South project is a 2-mile extension of a current sewer line running from Golden Corner Commerce Park to the Welcome Center on the I-85 interstate. If there are other questions, please call, email. We're happy to provide information. I know that it was a little confusing because most of the funding for Sewer South project and the basin study discussion were held in such a close proximity of time that there could have been some confusion. But for anyone who wants to call, my office number is 864-638-4245. And again, I urge anyone that is interested in the basin study to review the special council meeting, January 17th at 5 p.m.
So thank you for clarifying that. So the $60 million or whatever it is, that's nothing we plan on doing anytime soon or ever.
Not that I'm aware of. There's never once been a vote of council to do so.
All we're talking about is running sewer to exit 1 to the Welcome
Correct.
Center. Thank you. Presentation, presentation to council. Rosa Clark Clinic, Ms. Vicki Thompson, CEO, Rosa Clark Medical Clinic.
Good evening, Councilman. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today on this very important matter. As most of you know, Rosa Clark is an Oconee County organization that has been providing health care for people with low income and people who are uninsured and people who are underinsured since 1982. We started out as a free clinic, and then in 2017 we became a federally qualified health center. A health center provides integrated care for people regardless of their ability to pay. So there are over 1,400 health centers in the country with over 15,000 satellite offices. So Rosa Clark is governed by a 9-member board of directors, all from Oconee County. We provide primary care, mental health care, dental health care, and pharmacy services, all on a sliding fee scale. So since 1993, Rosa Clark has partnered with you, Oconee County Council, and we've leased a building on Oak Street in Seneca. And then in 2020, we received a $300,000 federal grant, and we used that grant to renovate that building into a dental clinic. And since that time, we have performed over 2,400 exams, over 1,000 extractions, over 800 restorations, all on a sliding fee scale. What we're here to talk to you tonight about is partnering with you again and requesting that we be able to repeat that model and use a building that you have in Westminster. Last year, Rosa Clark received a $500,000 grant from the federal government again to improve our infrastructure and increase our capacity. So after much deliberation and consideration, the Rosa Clark Board of Directors decided unanimously that Westminster is where we need to go, that there is a lack of access to care there, and there are many health care needs there that are unmet. So we were able to locate a building with the help of the City of Westminster, and thank you, Amanda, for all of your help through this process too, to try to see if we can create a clinic and pharmacy, small, in Westminster to meet those health care needs. So we'd like to share with you a few, just a little bit of information that we gathered on the Westminster area so that you'll know why our Board of Directors decided that this is the location that we need to go for our first satellite clinic, our first satellite medical clinic. And so we're going to ask them to come up here and give you some of their personal experiences that would help you to know why they chose to respond to this need. So you can see our list of services there. I'll be glad to give you a brochure. There should be one in your package. And now I'd like to introduce Randy Kiesler, who's Vice Chairman of our Board of Directors.
I'll be brief in my presentation as well. I have a lot of experience in Westminster. I grew up in a suburb known as Oakway, and so I know a lot about Westminster as serving as a pastor there. And the 29693 zip code is what we're focusing on. As of today, there's 3,000 folks who live in this area that are 65 and older. There are 2,000 that are Army or military veterans, and the nearest VA hospital is in Anderson. There's 5,700 people who live in this area who are living at the federal poverty level and are currently uninsured. Last year, Rosa Clark was able to help with the patients, 3,685 patients, and of those, 477 of them came from this area. And so we believe that there is a need for a better transportation and easier to get to, and to be able to have that with quality medical and pharmacy care in the Westminster area. And so Pat Smith is going to come and tell us a little bit more.
Thanks for having us. My name's Pat Smith, and I'm on the board of Rosa Clark. I'm a retired registered nurse who served almost 40 years in that capacity. The last 10 at Oconee Hospital, I was a case manager. part of that job was discharge planning, and that was given a list of patients that were up for discharge and their needs. That plan was executed well if somebody had insurance or the ability to pay. But for those who did not, were underinsured or uninsured, there were a lot of roadblocks along the way. The case managers, we felt like we were beating dead horses all the time, begging for help with medications, and, people really were having to make a choice between medicines and food. But then in steps Rosa Clark, under the direction of Vicki Thompson. We talked with her about our needs, and this was when Rosa Clark was a free clinic. We talked about our needs for these folks. Some of them didn't even have primary care. They couldn't afford their medicines. They needed equipment. Some needed nursing home placement. And I can say that when we started referring patients to Rosa Clark for assistance, she never declined a single referral. That was my first introduction to Rosa Clark. And in the years since then, I've seen enormous growth at Rosa Clark. And I think you saw the list where we have primary care, dental care, children's immunizations, and we even stepped up during the pandemic and offered vaccines for COVID. But we have found out that Westminster is an area in need. HRSA has given us the figures that 13% of the people in this area are diabetic. 39% have high blood pressure. These two conditions alone can be very serious and even deadly, but with good medical care and medications and education, they can be successfully treated. In the year that we just ended with 2022, Rosa Clark had received 2,000 referrals upon discharge from the hospital, either from an inpatient stay or from the emergency room. 400 of those referrals were from the Westminster area. Again, we're here to ask for your help in getting this satellite clinic in Westminster. I'm now in my 8th year serving on the board at Rosa Clark, with an amazing group of men and women that, like you, are committed to Oconee County and the people. Thank you, and now Ben Sullivan will come.
Good evening. Thank you very much for letting us be here. I'm just going to give you a brief overview of the facility itself. The location is 1606 East Main Street in Westminster. It's a good location. A lot of good pluses about that property. If you look at the aerial photo there, it's got good street frontage on 2 streets. It's got really good ingress, egress, a lot of parking there. The building we're talking about, of course, is this one here. It's not this is the magistrate's office here. This is the building we're talking about. It's about 2,100 square feet. It's an older building, built in 1970, but it's got good bones. It's built of brick construction. It's on slab and crawl space, and we have great plans and a good bit of funding to renovate the interior and do an addition also for the needs that we have. Another plus, I think, for the property is having that magistrate's office right there for security purposes. And so if you look at that property, there's a lot of pluses there, and we feel very, very fortunate that we found it, and we hope we'll be able to make use of it. Thank you very much.
Hello. My name is Susan Roper. My husband, 2 small boys, and I moved to Oconee County in 1987. I started my Oconee County teaching career at West Oak High School, and my husband ended his Oconee career by retiring as administrator from West Oak High School. So we do have feelers out for the Westminster area. In conclusion, for all of the reasons you have been given tonight, we have chosen the Westminster area for our new satellite location. We are hopeful that you will allow us to put this county building to good use and to provide a better quality of life for these citizens in this area of Oconee County. And with that, I would like to open for questions.
First of all, thank you, Rosa Clark and your board of directors, Ms. Vicki, thank you for all y'all's commitment to helping those in need. And it's a long way to travel from Westminster to Seneca. They do it now. So grateful that, number one, we saved the building, and number two, we put it to good use to serve, not just Westminster residents, but that's a lot closer for, obviously your Lone Creek and even your Mountain Rest and things like that. So grateful for the purpose of the building and the mission that y'all provide. And obviously, I always have had my support and for a long time. So thank you for continue to grow in your organization, your service on there. I know we've got 8 years. I bet you're not the senior board member there either. I think you got some people that's been on there longer than that. But grateful for y'all's commitment to continue to help everybody, so thank you.
And I received a letter from the Office of the President, South Carolina Senate, Senator Thomas Alexander. I'm writing to offer my support to the Rosa Clark Health Center's request to lease the county-owned building located at 1606 East Main Street in Westminster. The Rosa Clark Health Center is a local organization that has been providing health care to low-income, uninsured, and underinsured citizens since 1982. Last year, the Rosa Clark Health Center served 3,865 patients, with 447 of those patients being residents in the Westminster area. Last year, they received a grant designated to increase their capacity and infrastructure. Rosa Clark's Board of Directors has unanimously voted to open a satellite office in Westminster. They need your help. With your approval to lease this building to Rosa Clark Health Center, an office will open to provide primary care, chronic care management, and immunizations for all ages. They'll be able to renovate this building and operate without a mortgage. Your favorable decision will allow this organization to put money into health care services in Westminster area. Thank you for your service to the people of Oconee. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank
Rosa,
you.
we need a motion to move forward from council.
It's a matter on the agenda.
Yes.
Thank you. We look forward to hearing from you.
Thank all of you. Thank you. Let's see, presentation to council, emergency medical services, Mr. Hunter Cone, CEO of Oconee Hospital.
Chairman, thank you. I'm Hunter Combe. I'm the CEO of Prism Health Oconee Medical Campus and Oconee Memorial Hospital. And I have with me Aaron Dix, who's the Executive Director of Emergency Medical Services and Patient Flow for our organization. And we're here to talk about EMS. And I just want to express our appreciation for all the years of support that you have provided for EMS. And we just wanted to give you an update on the services we provide and kind of the financial realities of EMS right now, particularly as it relates to the growth of the county and the need to obviously continue to support that growth. I got it green. All right. So we do want to talk about EMS being an essential public service, just like fire, safety, public safety, and so on. The fact that we deliver the highest quality EMS services in the state, and Aaron's going to talk about that. The extent that we go to make sure we have the latest technology, the best training, and so on. The current state of EMS funding, which help you understand where the money comes from and why there is a shortfall in terms of delivery of EMS to the community. The fact that to grow, and obviously the county's growing rapidly, we do need public support, and you've provided support. What we're here to do is just ask you to consider some expanded support for us in the year ahead. And then we're going to just share with you the kind of the financial situation. So first of all, I just wanted to let you know the economic impact that our organization has on the community. Right now at Oconee Memorial Hospital, I can tell you our average hourly rate at the hospital is over $40 an hour that we pay. That's across our entire workforce. So our payroll is very large, and it puts a lot of money into the community. And we support the community in a lot of other ways. You're familiar with the fact that, of course, we donated land and provided financial support to bring a YMCA to the community, which we believe is great for economic development. And there's just lots of other organizations that we support. We're very proud to have Rosa Clark on our campus. I almost got teary-eyed listening to them, thinking about how far they've come. I've been here for 15 years, and the growth that Vicki and the board have accomplished in that amount of time is absolutely phenomenal. Just amazing work that they've done. So EMS is a public service, and this community, it's been a little bit different because we've run EMS for so long. I think it's come to be seen as a private enterprise. And EMS in every community in South Carolina and across the country is a public service. Every other county in South Carolina, actually, EMS is a fully publicly funded service. And we're not here asking for full public funding of it. We're interested in continuing a public-private partnership like we've had for many years. But we did want to make sure that there's an understanding that EMS is a public service, like fire safety and law enforcement and so on, all around the country. Aaron, if you'll come up and kind of talk about the actual services we provide to the community and the quality of those services. I think you're clicking us forward, aren't you?
Good evening, Aaron Dix. My name is Aaron Dix. I'm the executive director for, Prisma Health Ambulance Service and Patient Flow. So Prisma Health Ambulance Service, we're one of the largest in the state, and we have a team of about 330, and out of those 330, about 100 of them are based in this community. And our records go back to about 1966, where we've been providing 911 service to Oconee County. So current state today, and we made a pretty significant financial investment into Oconee County about 3 years ago in both technology equipment and in staff. So we currently run 5 advanced life support paramedic ambulances, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then we buffer that with 2 additional during our peak time, plus additional resources that are in the community, primarily to do the business of the hospital, but they're there as backup as well. We also added 2 what are called quick response vehicles, which are supervisors. One of them is in Salem, and one of them is in Seneca City. They provide additional oversight on high complex calls. They also carry blood coolers. So what we have done with Prisma Health Ambulance Service, especially in Oconee, is we have developed an EMS model that is probably not found in the vast majority of communities nationwide. We have invested in the best technology, the best ambulances, the best clinical protocols. We've been providing antibiotics and blood in the field before most EMS systems in the country. We were the first EMS system in South Carolina to carry blood. The first patient to ever receive blood in South Carolina did so in Oconee 2 years ago. We were the second system in the state and one of the first in the nation to administer antibiotics in the field. So we are constantly pushing the clinical envelope. All of that is designed to improve mortality and morbidity in the field. So we have invested a significant amount of money and in training as well for those paramedics to be on the SWAT team for the sheriff's office. We provide special operations paramedics for the emergency services if somebody gets lost or injured in any of our wilderness environments. We provide standby coverage for free for all of the high schools. Upon request, we provide medical oversight for anybody who's operating to the DHEC EMS license. So where a lot of EMS services have found it difficult to replace their technology, about 3 years ago, we completely replaced every single piece of technology, which includes a lot in our dispatch centers. So we're a secondary PSAP. So after the call is answered either by Seneca or by the sheriff's office, that call is then transferred to our consolidated communication center where we go through emergency medical dispatch. So about 2 years ago, we made a very substantial investment into our communication center. Not only the complete upgrade of our dispatch consoles, which are still in the process of being done right now to about the tune of $270,000. We also invested in specific technology, and we're the only system in South Carolina that's using simulation-based training to improve our ability to communicate with those callers when they call us and tell us that they found somebody in cardiac arrest. So there's constant improvement, constant quality improvement in insurance within our dispatch system. We also are responsible for all of those costs. So not only are we responsible for the entire fleet costs and all of the technology costs and all the medication costs, and we are all familiar with what has happened with inflation. Just a single dose of Narcan, unfortunately, which used to be just about 25 to 50 cents, is now $15. So the cost of an ambulance, where we used to be able to purchase ambulances for about $185,000, The newest ambulance that we can purchase today is now going for about $300 to $350, and that doesn't include the technology that has to go into that ambulance to make it ready and roadworthy. The other issue that we now encounter is that that ambulance will deliver between 18 to 36 months out, depending after the order has been placed, depending on the availability of the chassis. So we have worked very hard and diligently. It's just over the past year, we've encountered a lot of issues where it comes to where we've paid for technology and we've paid for capital equipment that just has not delivered. We also made a very large investment, very similar to what Rosa Clark has done with MOLA Integrated Health, which is our community paramedic program. It started with a Blue Cross Blue Shield grant to provide for the salaries of the community paramedics, but we were responsible for the entire capital investment, and that program has grown from 3 community paramedics to now 10. Now, of course, we are serving other communities other than Oconee, but we have a very strong footprint within Oconee. All of those community paramedic services are free. Those are provided to underinsured, non-insured patients, high utilizers, and they're designed to improve not only the patient experience by keeping them at home, but also improving their health. And there was a nice story on Fox 61, Carolina, it was Carolina, sorry, multiple different news, that ran 2 days ago that talked about one of our patients that we were following in that program itself. We also are one of the only EMS systems that have the technology such as ultrasound and point-of-care testing that allows you to actually run lab values in your home. We also have access to simulation-based training, not only for our communications center, but also all of our paramedic team members. So there's nothing better than immersing paramedics or EMTs into the environment that they are used to operating in. So being part of Prisma Health allows us to have access to the simulation center at the USC School of Medicine. So we push through every single one of our paramedics every other month through pretty rigorous training. We also have pretty strong physician oversight, and we provide that oversight free of charge to any of the DHEC certified first response agencies within Oconee County.
All right. Thank you, Aaron. That was excellent. So you can see, we're providing an outstanding service to the community. I can tell you Aaron is just highly committed to making sure that we have the best EMS in the state, really anywhere. So right now, the EMS services, since I've been here, just the financial picture in healthcare in general has changed a lot, and that's been true for EMS as well. And we've reached the point where EMS is operating at a deficit of about $2.3 million a year. So that's an investment just in the operations that Prisma Health is making every year, and that's not including the capital expense and other things that Aaron talked about. So historically, for many years, Oconee County has provided $150,000 a year, which in the past was, I think, understood to be essentially to help replace an ambulance. As Aaron has said, that cost has gone up dramatically. For the past couple of years, I'm not sure exactly how long, you guys very graciously have increased that to $300,000. We don't get any funding from anywhere else. The reason it runs a deficit, Aaron can explain in more detail, but I don't want to take up a ton of time, has to do with what we would collect if we billed for certain things and so on. But what I want to talk about is going forward as you consider your budget, we want to make sure that there's an understanding, again, that it's an essential public service, that in every community in the state, it is a fully funded public service. This is a comparison, and we've provided all the sources of the information to Amanda. But this is a comparison of costs in different communities, how much the community is paying, how many ambulances they're getting, and how much the cost is per capita. So right now you can see that in Oconee County with the support of $300,000, we're at about a $3.83 per capita level of public support. The nearest county that we could find was Anderson County at $32 per capita of public support. Next slide, please. So what we want to do is continue in a public-private partnership where we operate EMS and we continue to invest in EMS and do the things that Aaron has talked about. We want to keep EMS costs low for the people of the county. And we recognize that as we seek some additional financial support, that the deficit that we've talked about, $2.3 million, is too much for you guys to digest in one budget cycle. We're just asking you, as you work on this year's budget, to consider some enhanced funding for us. And then this would be if the full $2.3 million shortfall was covered, we'd still be at $29.37 per capita, which would be the lowest cost EMS, publicly funded EMS in the state. So that was kind of the food for thought we wanted to give you. We wanted you to know that EMS in Coney County is very strong in terms of the services that we're providing. You know the growth situation in the county. There are areas that you're well aware are growing very rapidly where we really need to put an ambulance. Corinth Shiloh would be an example of an area that really needs an ambulance. And obviously, the more ambulances we deploy, the more of a loss we generate. So we're really interested in some additional financial support to help support the growth of the community. And then we'll just keep coming back on a regular basis to keep you informed about EMS in future budget years. Any questions?
I'd like to thank Prisma EMS. I personally have been a beneficiary of the ambulance service, and I'm sure people in this room have also, and you've done a great job. And the only complaint I had was it was a bumpy ride, but it was because of the state roads, not because of the ambulance. I can't do anything about the state roads.
That's right.
Any other discussion?
Well, go ahead, Glenn. I would like to tell you that I really appreciate y'all's services. I have been a beneficiary of it also because of my own doing. And we won't get into that, but I will tell you, I just lost my mom the 6th of this month. She was in bad health and she needed y'all several times. And y'all provided that help and that service to us. And she received, every time that y'all showed up, she got the most courteous and caring service. The EMTs, they handled her like kid gloves and did a wonderful job.
I'm sorry for your
I
loss.
really appreciate y'all.
I'm sorry for your loss, sir.
My question would be, are you affiliated with the helicopter service?
We have what's called a community-based agreement with Air Methods. So there is no money that exchanges hands between the two organizations. It's a flying billboard. To answer directly, if what air service comes into Oconee County, we went with the GIS mapping. We looked at every single address point. There are 4 helicopters that will come into Oconee County. It's kind of funny just how many helicopters are surrounding you. So based upon your address in our computer-aided dispatch system, what ends up happening is that there's 1, 2, and 3 based upon the closest helicopters, and we make those notifications based upon your address. So we're trying our best to ensure that you're getting the closest aircraft, regardless if it says Prisma Health on the side of it. What ends up happening sometimes is that the landing zones move. So where we think we're sending the closest airframe or the closest aircraft, that LZ changes and crosses. So in some cases, yes, maybe LifeNet 10, which is the Prisma branded helicopter, or LifeFlight out of Anderson ends up in one of those small geographical areas. But we're talking about a very small time difference. We have mapped out the entire county. So at the top part of the county, it's actually medical air, mountain, it's MAMA will come in on that top part of Oconee, on that 85 corridor. That's LifeFlight out of ANMED. On the part that's by Georgia, there's a helicopter in Georgia that's the closest. And then in about 60% of the county, it's LifeNet 10 out of the Pickens Air Base. There might have been more information that you wanted, but
That's right, that's fine. I just want
Okay.
to make sure that I often see that people need a helicopter,
So-
especially in accidents.
Yep. So couple things. When we signed an agreement with Air Methods, one of the things that we had to ensure, which is a moot point now, but we wanted to explain why we chose to do it, is we wanted to ensure that patients that we requested a helicopter for would never get a bill. So the agreement originally with Air Methods was that if we requested them, that the patient, if they ever got a bill, just needed to give it to us, and it would be handled. There was a new law that got put into effect in January, so that is somewhat a moot point now. So none of the helicopter services should be submitting bills of that are significant. I don't know how else to answer that, We auto-launch as well. So in our emergency medical dispatch, as you go through the questioning, if it sounds bad, the helicopter is launched immediately, just to try to get it there faster. The fastest is about 16 minutes to get into our county. So some of the farther areas can take 20, 30 minutes, just because of the remote area of trying to get that helicopter in. Sorry, Mr. Hart, was that?
No, that's fine.
Okay.
That's just, I was just curious, because you see cases that, especially auto accidents, where they're air vac out, and that's what I was wondering, if you were affiliated with those people that did that.
Yeah, so you will see one of the helicopters in our area that says Prisma Health on the side. That is our contractual agreement with Air Methods, which is that company. That helicopter is special. It has 2 engines and can fly in bad weather. None of the other aircraft in the area can do that. So we can fly patients with that aircraft in areas that, or in times of fog, drizzle, things where the ceiling is not high enough, where somebody who has to fly visually, like in a Cessna. So we got some perks for this county by signing that agreement. But I think the biggest message that I would want to make sure is that we do our best to send the closest aircraft. There is no money that exchanges hands between Prisma Health and Air Methods, or any helicopter.
Any other?
Yeah, not to drag the meeting out too long, but, the expansion that y'all have done in the county has really cut down on time, and the amount of lives that it would save is unreal, especially out, in the Oakwood area, just the mere time frame. From our citizens out there, they've noticed it, especially in the last couple of years, and you've done a good job that you've done on board here, and your techs have done a marvelous job, so thankful for that. And the equipment that y'all have bought and brought, when the whole Prisma thing happened, there's a lot of question marks out there, and I think y'all have answered, those, so.
Thank you.
Grateful to definitely help out, obviously, in discussion as we move forward with budget season. Understand that we are getting when I came on, I think it was 100, and then it became 300 after, somewhere around in there, so appreciate, again, we're getting a deal, and our citizens are getting amazing health care for that, so
Thank you.
thankful for that partnership as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other comments? No, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, public comment session. As a reminder,
Mr. Chairman.
excuse me.
I think a lot of this is gonna be about Sewer South, and we have Mr. Chris Alizar there that can answer a lot of these questions for these people right now, if you'd let him step forward and answer that.
Okay, so you want to come forward first before the public comments?
Well, he may cut down on some people's questions that have concerns.
I'll make a motion, or if that's a motion.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Up here?
On the fly.
That was unexpected.
So, would you like me to address?
Yeah, address.
If you would, at the microphone too, please.
All right, I'm Chris Eliezer, I'm the Executive Director of the Oconee Joint and Regional Sewer Authority, and thank you for having me and bringing me forward. Hopefully, we'll be able to clarify some of the questions that have come to me directly and indirectly, and I'm sure you guys have received plenty as well. So, as we receive the public comments that are pertaining to sewer, I'll do my best to give you an answer for those that I do have, and acknowledge if there's information out there that we're still waiting on, or if there's something that I don't have an answer for at this time.
Is that what you wanted, Mr. Hart?
No, would you
Chris?
please?
Chris, could you give an overview of the project?
Okay, so really, as Ms. Brock led off the meeting with tonight, there's actually 2 separate projects, and I think that the timing was very confusing for the 2. So the first one, the one that we title as Phase 2 of Sewer South, is to get from the Golden Corner Commerce Park, from the pump station that's there existing, to the heart of Fairplay, from there to Exit 2, across the interstate, and then down to the Welcome Center at Exit 1, and take the treatment plant that is at the Welcome Center offline. So if you can think about it as just one straight shot of pipe, there's nothing coming off of it, going to side roads or up any other highways. Is essentially from point A to point B with that project. The second project is the study that was done and presented at that January 17th meeting, and that was really all it was. It was not, this is what to do, this is what you need to do, this is what's going to happen. It was just a presentation as far as what possibly could be done over an extended period of years down that way. So, it's important to keep in mind that there are two separate projects. One that is, we do hope is actually going to go forward very soon with getting it to exit 1. The other may happen, may not happen, may happen partially. That's been the biggest question that I've had is just general confusion about that.
One other thing that I've been asked, okay, so if you already have a septic tank that's working, DHEC certified, will you be required to go on to Sewer South?
So I went ahead and I did a little bit of research, anticipated that question would come up. And so back in 1995, I believe was the year, the county adopted Ordinance 95-7. In that ordinance, that was the first time that I could find that there was any mention that required customers to connect if they were in that 300-foot boundary from the edge of the property line. So when we basically spun off and became our own entity from the county, we adopted that what we call the sewer use ordinance and made it our sewer use regulation. That regulation, for the most part, overall, as the entire document, has changed very, very little over the years. That 300-foot requirement is still in the document. We currently are in a consent order with DHEC, and as part of our consent order, we are having to go through and update our sewer use regulation. So at our board meeting earlier this month, and based on some of the questions that we had received and some confusion that even myself have had as far as what does and doesn't constitute a reason for somebody to connect, we're going to address that specifically. So what we're going to do is we're going to revise our regulation, and of course this is all pending board approval, as they're the ones that ultimately have to adopt the policy. But the recommendation of them is going to be that we put in there, instead of the requirement that we require them to connect, it's going to be based on what the state would require to be done, or some other entity, even if it's the county that would require it. We're going to put it in the hands of others. So currently, right now, DHEC has a regulation, and it's regulation 61-56, and it addresses septic tanks specifically. The regulation is actually called on-site wastewater systems, which is their word for what a septic tank is. And section 300 of that regulation is what addresses the requirement for a user to connect. So in that DHEC regulation right now, it says, and I didn't print it and bring it in front of me, but I'll generalize what it says, is that if sewer is available, then DHEC will not issue a permit for a septic tank. So we're going to fall back on that as our regulation, and that's what we'll go forward with.
But if you have according to DHEC, if you have a good working septic tank existing today, you won't be forced on to Sewer South.
That's correct. We will not go out there and require anybody to connect. If somebody's going out there and maintaining their septic tank, we're not going to go out there and make them tie in. The DHEC regulation does address that in there, but from our perspective, my perspective, that's DHEC's position. They do contact me when they're issuing new permits for septic tanks, asking if sewer is available, and to address one of the questions that I had earlier tonight about availability. And if you have to cross someone else's property to get to sewer, DHEC does not consider that to be available. So we wouldn't make you go and obtain an easement from your neighbor or something else if you have to cross somebody else's property to reach our line. So that's another item that's going to be clarified in there. But no, sir, as far as maintenance on a septic tank, we're not gonna go out there. We don't have the staff and or means to do it, and that's, we feel that's DHEC's responsibility. I don't believe they issue permits for maintaining or repairing a septic tank, so I don't know that they have a means to track it anyways. It would be just the new installations.
What if your property joins a pressurized tank, a pressurized line? There's no way you can connect anyway, are there?
No, sir. The type sewer system that we have is a gravity-centric system. So connecting to what is a system that relies on what God has given us with gravity, the water, the wastewater will flow downhill. Those are lines and manholes that you would be able to connect to. Ultimately, it's going to get to a pump station at the bottom of that line, at which time it'll pump it up, probably either to a treatment plant or to another gravity line. The lines that you refer to, or what are the pressurized lines, are what is called a force main. And force mains, if you think about a water line, the way a water system works at your house is the pipe is full and it's under pressure internally. So if you get a break in the line, it's going to force water out. So the reason why you were not able to connect to those systems is that the force main is not designed that way. We do not allow those type of connections. There are places where you may have large pump stations that might tie in, or what's called manifold, bring two force mains together into one. But with issues we've had on our system in the past and with previous places that I've worked with before, large utilities, those are not allowed just because of the problems that it has caused managing and operating those systems. So no, sir, you cannot tie into a pressurized line.
In other words, the question I'm asking, from the pump station at the Golden Corners, if I live in Crossroads and it runs in front of my house, I can't tie onto it. Is that right?
The pressurized pipe?
Yeah.
Sir, no, sir, you would not be able to tie into that.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
I've had questions about, and I don't know the validity of the value, but can you give us a current status or condition of the Conroy's plant right now? I think there's a mindset out there that is in disrepair and it's gonna cost $50 million for repairs. And they're wanting to know, shouldn't we fix what we've got first before we embark on putting another sewer line down to 85?
I appreciate that question. That is something that we are asked about from time to time. I know there was a piece in the newspaper about it recently. The treatment plant is rated by DHEC at 7.8 million gallons a day. Our typical average daily flow, this is year-round, would be about 3.1 to 3.2 million gallons, so less than half of the rated capacity. Dry weather days, our flow may, summertime, a little bit of rain here and there, our flows might be as low as 2.5, 2.6 million. So as far as capacity at the treatment plant goes, we've got capacity, plenty of capacity to serve, the existing area, sewer south, whatever the case may need to be for what we think is going to be a number of years, unless we get, some substantial industry that discharges in the millions of gallons range. That may speed up the process as far as when we would need to upsize the plant. As far as the condition of the plant, I've been there about 5.5, close to 6 years now. And after being there a year and having the opportunity to go through the budgeting process, assess what we needed to do, what equipment was either inoperable or at the end of its useful life, and begin budgeting for these items to be replaced, because the sewer authority has no debt. So we have paid, for in my time there, we've paid cash as we've gone along to replace what would be considered expensive equipment, pumps, motors, even parts of buildings, replacing roofs and that type of thing. So we have gone and made considerable improvements over the last, I'd say, 4+ years at bringing equipment up to where it needs to be. to where we were able to operate the plant as it was designed. There's still work that needs to be done, but as far as the condition of it falling apart or the risk of it collapsing or us not being able to get flow through the plant, that I would say that's not the case. The only area that I think brings us the biggest part of concern is the handling of solids. So what's removed from the wastewater in the biological process is handled, and we ultimately we press it, dry it out, and it's landfilled. So that piece of equipment is, I believe it's approximately 30 years old or getting close to it. And we have put in one of our grant requests that we put in for the state with the ARPA funds has been to replace that. So that, I think, is right now, I'd say, our biggest risk at the treatment plant. It would not shut the plant down. We'd still be able to operate. We would just have to bring in a portable press on an emergency basis and rent it until we're able to get back up and going again. Capacity in the system is a whole nother matter. I think people hear there's a lack of capacity maybe, and people think, well, the plant's undersized. That's not the case. There's certain areas in our system where we may lack space in the pipelines or the pumps. The pump station may be 40 or more years old, was designed for flow that was met or exceeded a number of years ago, and that the capacity in certain parts of the system is what needs to be addressed, and we're addressing that now. We've got 2 pump stations replacements in design currently, and there's several more that are, you mentioned the $50 million. All of that $50 million, which was an approximate number that we came up with along with our engineers a couple of years ago to bring the entire system up to where we felt it needed to be, and that would address what we felt would be a considerable portion of upsizing facilities to manage growth. If we were just replacing equipment like for like, it would be considerably less than that amount, but we want to, it would make no sense to replace it and not be able to take any more flow just to get it, up to where it's going to last another 15 to 20 years. So does that address your question, Mr.
Yes,
Mize?
Well, so it's safe to assume that y'all constantly having to assess various areas of this sewer pipes or your gravity lines based on housing developments coming in, and you're gonna have that. You're gonna have to upsize your pipes, you're gonna have to upsize pumps, and that's gonna be a continuing process, is that correct?
That is correct, but I had no plan. I didn't even know I was going to be called up here necessarily about this today, but I was actually meeting with one of our engineers, and we've been going back and forth. And you can see this crude map that I've drawn on there, and they're working to bring this to us where we can have a quick visual representation, and this is something that Mr. Gilbert, we've talked about since he's been here, to have a quick, where we can glance at a map quickly, know how much capacity we have to be able to give information and feedback to some potential industry or a potential residential development or something like that, where we don't have to go and wait a week, 2 weeks to get that information back. So when, as this map that I colored with a highlighter goes from this conceptual phase to refinement to something that we feel is ready to go, we'll, we hope that will be a month, 2-month process, that we'll have a good information on that. Right now, any large project, we'd require them to do what's called a downstream capacity assessment, which they take the anticipated flow from a project, run it through a hydraulic model, which basically generates a letter for us saying whether we can or can't process it on our lines. It doesn't mean that the city's lines that it may connect to can handle it, because we're 2 separate systems, but it's looking at it specifically for us in those cases.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have a question and answer, might as well just put you on the agenda, get you on. I guess, number one, the thing I want to state, the Sewer South project is not the Oconee Joint Regional Sewer Authority Board
pushing for the project, the direction came from council. So I know there's some people out there that think it comes from y'all. It doesn't. Y'all are doing as, council statement on there. That's correct.
Yes, sir, Mr. Davis.
Just see where the direction comes from. Do you know what's the flow of the Welcome Center?
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that plant is rated for 15,000 gallons a day.
So if the line that runs from 2 down to 1 is a pressurized line, right?
Yes, sir, it is.
So any land that's running from 2 to 1, how would they connect to their system?
As of right now, with this project, most of those properties would not be able to. There's land right there around Exit 2 that would have the direct ability to connect to it. There's also several with just a fairly short run of pipe would be able to be served by it. So we feel that Exit 2 in its entirety would be a fairly easy interchange to serve all 4 corners of it. The remainder between Exit 2 and Exit 1, that would require a gravity line to be put in, and that was part of what the engineer and planner had kind of proposed when they saw with the phasing over time. That was something that they had discussed, and for a potential routing of how that would be served and where it would go. Ultimately, by gravity, in all these cases now, with us being up along the hills and along the lake, everything's going to flow toward the lake. So there have to be ultimately some location down that way to pump it up to a gravity line that'll ultimately get it up to the Golden Corner pump station.
So those properties would also have to bore the line under it to connect to the pump station at Exit 1?
Not necessarily. If there's this is something Ms. Brock and I spoke about a couple of years ago. We were having to almost, in a way, redesign the system because of the DOT. At one time, they were not going to allow us to run the force main into the interstate controlled access area. So we're having to scratch our heads and figure out what we would do if they did not make that concession. And it was at that there we talked about possibly having a pump station down toward the county park at the end of Lakeshore Drive. So gravity would flow basically from the top of the hill on Lakeshore, which would be, I guess that would be west of Exit 2, down toward that county park and pump that back up.
But if they installed a pump station on their land, they could pump into that pressurized system?
No, sir, they wouldn't be able to connect with that.
Land in between 2 and 1 is extremely difficult to connect into.
Yes, sir, that's right. That would be correct.
But once you get down to 1, anywhere down there can gravity feed unless you're on the other side, then you got to come under the interstate and go for that, which obviously we're going under the interstate already.
Yes, sir.
On going into 2.
Yes, sir, and we have some anticipated costs that we were asked to get together for what that may run a couple of years ago. So we have an idea of what it would cost to get under to the other side of Exit 1, but it would terminate right there, and again, from there, it'd have to be built out to areas it would serve.
Is your pump station at Exit 1, if the only thing in it is the Welcome Center, what would it run? Once every other week at 15,000, if that?
No, it would, I would imagine it would still cycle several times a day. They're designed, they've got a tank in the ground, it's called a wet well that's associated with the pump station, and they hold, they'll hold several thousand gallons. They have different set points to where it'll kick the pumps on. So it may be a number of hours, maybe very few, maybe a lot, depending on what the flow is, but it wouldn't be in the days range.
So would the Welcomes, would the state become a customer of? Okay.
Yes, sir.
They would pay for whatever that is.
Correct.
And I think the other thing I know was mentioned, talking about the plant, because I know there's a website with some documentation out there that the plant has metal ion issues and all this stuff, and so I appreciate all the talk about that. The plant is not having the issues as proposed, so as in building another plant and expanding that area, to me, doesn't seem like what the focus needs to be on. I think the issue It's not the plant, it's the lines and the I and I that comes into the lines, and I know y'all are addressing that. And I know the city, Westminster and Seneca Hall are really working hard to try to address some of those issues, but I know the plant is in good shape. I think I've done some good things on there, but, the plant has the ability to expand, correct?
We do, yes, sir. We have,
Up to, what would you?
there's no, I mean, we have well over 100 acres at that site. We're utilizing about 30 acres inside the fence. So we have ample area to expand the existing plant. But addressing your comment about the metal ions, that is, I mean, we can accept flow from industry. Most, industries are going to be dealing with metal anyways. They're going to be required to pre-treat, and that's no matter where they locate, whether it's on our system or elsewhere, because us being a biological plant and other Greenville, same way. They have biological plants. They're not designed to treat and remove metals in that way. That's why that's a pre-treatment requirement that goes on the industries to remove it, to get it down to levels that we can, that we are designed to treat.
I've had some people contact me that saw it somewhere that I was like, that's not the truth.
That's correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, any other questions? Thanks, sir.
Thank you. And if, I'm not sure.
Mr. Hart.
I just want to make a statement. I appreciate you being Johnny on the spot and stepping up forward to answer these questions.
Well, thank you, and I was going to offer that if there's any questions that somebody brings up in the next couple of minutes that you would like me to address that I haven't done so, I'll stick around and feel free to call me back up. All right?
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you all.
I just don't want the comments to turn into a question answer, and we're here, so like the people that sit and after everybody talks to address some of those, I'm good with that, Mr. Chairman.
Right, okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so if your questions were answered and you signed up, because we got to get many people signed up for the sake of time, if you want to pass, that's fine. If you want to come up and speak, that's fine. You get 4 minutes to speak. When 3 minutes are up, you'll get the yellow sign. When your time's up, you'll get the red sign. Mr. Tony Adams.
Believe it or not, my comments have nothing to do with Sewer South. My comments are to you, Mr. Elliott. Since you've been chairman of the council, I've spoken to this council multiple times in public comments. When I'm preparing my public comments, I'm cognizant of your 4-minute limit. Most of the time, I've stayed right on it, right at it. A couple of times I went over. Didn't plan on going over just a few seconds. Next to the last time I spoke, I reached the 4-minute mark. And you had your gavel and you started beating the bench. Started motioning for a deputy to come escort me out of chambers. Let's fast forward to the last council meeting, when there were 5 or 6 speakers speaking about the local gun range. There were several of those people reached the 4-minute mark. And your comments to them would just take as much time as you need. Now, my question to you is obvious. It's what rationale do you use to decide when somebody gets as much time as they need in public comments, or do they get hammered at 4 minutes? Thank you.
Excuse me if I say your name wrong. I have a hard time reading some of these names. Marlene Willoughby.
My name is Marlene Willoughby. I've been a farmer in Oconee County, and now I'm a school bus driver also, and we have cattle and poultry, and we sell produce. And I've been in the area, and I love my area. I feel like I'm one of the richest people in Oconee County for getting to do what I love. And what worries me with this sewer south deal, run your sewer down, But we know what will happen next. We will be covered up with growth. Big industry here. Maybe like Love's down there. And Lord knows what those people below Love's has already had to put up with just trying to get home in the afternoon for all that traffic. I'm a bus driver. I sit there and I waited with them. I know what growth can do. We got to eat, folks. We got to save land. We've put nearly 50 years or more. Some of these farms are a century. We've got to protect it. And y'all are sitting right up there. Can do it and help us to save our land and protect it. Protect our families and the time and the money and the energy. We're not flybys. We do it every day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. This is our lifestyle. This is daily. This is everything we've been doing since we've been on this earth nearly. And we love it. And we don't mind losing money like we have over the years, actually, for trying to feed the world. I could stand here and tell you what I've had to do to keep my farm. Y'all wouldn't probably believe it. You wouldn't. But I just beg you to keep us in mind of what we're trying to do and what we need to do in Oconee County. We got to save our land, our farms. We've got generations that we've done this hard work for to pass it on to them that love it just as good as we do because they was brought up with it. So when you're talking about your big industry and growth and all that, you know, we've got to work. We've got to keep what we have tried to make. And it's important. Thank you so much.
Thomas Bowling? Yes, sir. Sorry.
Good evening. I'm Tom Boykin. I own Brock Hill Farm in Fairplay, South Carolina, on West Pine Grove Road. I have some specific questions and comments concerning the Golden Corner Commerce Park. I realize you likely won't have specific answers tonight, but I ask that you take them into consideration when determining your vote to proceed with funding excavation and grading north of Cleveland Creek in the Golden Corner Commerce Park. First, I'd like to know how much money has been provided by citizens and property owners in Oconee County and has been used by the Oconee County government, the Sewer Authority, South Carolina DOT, Pioneer Water to purchase, study, plan, hire consultants, hire engineering firms, pay to South Carolina DHEC from 2004 when purchased until today. That includes the bridge replacement on Highway 59, road modifications there, sewer plant plans, permitting, hearings, etc., associated with the failed package plant plan, fire water modifications to the freshwater systems, infrastructure improvements including sewer piping, pump station, roadways, power installation, signage, etc. Also, land giveaways to Blue Ridge Electric for a substation, Central Power for right-of-ways, Pioneer Water for a water plant. Has anyone totaled these expenditures up over the last 19 years? Before spending more on an empty, overgrown field that used to be one of the best corn farms in the county, please consider the answer to this question. Secondly, I'm requesting a copy of an intensive archaeological Phase 1 survey of all acreage north of Cleveland Creek. I assume Oconee County has performed this Phase 1 survey as requested in 2004 and documented in the AFC Resources Studies Series number 184 cultural resources assessment of the Reed Head property at Fairplay, Oconee County, South Carolina. That document was requested and paid for by the Oconee County government in 2004. I brought this to the attention of the Sewer Authority, South Carolina DHEC, Oconee County government officials in 2010 during public hearings and via email. The author and the principal investigator states on page 22, section 4.4, quote, all the landforms included in the Reed Head property appear to be modestly to highly likely to yield evidence of prehistoric and/or historic occupation, although this evidence is very likely confined to small discrete areas across the landscape. If Oconee County decides to purchase these tracts, an intensive archaeological Phase 1 survey should be conducted on all acreage north of Cleveland Creek before land modification begins. A Phase 1 intensive survey should include archival and county records, title history, etc., that comprise the subject property. Since parcels appear to have been family-owned for at least 150 years, local informant interviews are also likely to reveal additional evidence. If no Phase 1 intensive survey is being performed, it is incumbent on y'all, this council, to complete one as requested and publicize the results. Thank you for the time to speak. I do have some handouts I can give to Amanda, and then you can see the questions I've asked and also the reference to the document.
Excuse me, Lillian Lusk.
First of all, I want to thank Amanda for trying to allay the fears of the Fairplay community, but I still believe that this Sewer South project, once completed, will just open the door to the sewer basin study coming to fruition. So anyhow, my name is Lillian Lusk, and I have lived in Fairplay for a little over 25 years. For the past 40 years, I have worked alongside farmers in the poultry industry. Keep in mind that not only do these farmers produce poultry, but they produce a byproduct of fertilizer that is meticulously applied to fields under a strict nutrient management plan. They're some of the best stewards of the land and the environment, helping produce crops, hay, and grass for livestock. But most of all, they provide food for our very existence. Without them and the farmers around them, we would literally starve to death. These men and women face tremendous challenges, and the cost of maintaining their cost of maintaining production skyrockets, and the government regulates and restricts them out of business. However, the biggest challenge to the farming industry as a whole is development. Pushing infrastructure like Sewer South into a predominantly farming community will begin a slow death of it in the form of urban sprawl. Past history has shown that sewer infrastructure is one of the biggest invitations to development. In the past, 100% of urban sprawl was from the outside in, but today, with things like grants from our illustrious governor for rural infrastructure, 45% is from the inside out, like the Sewer South project. It's like a cancer being inserted deep inside the rural community that will slowly kill us and our way of life. The fact is, farmland is being lost to urbanization in unprecedented numbers. A national group called Farmers Under Threat in a 2022 study estimated an average of 2,000 acres of farmland is lost each day. In the year 2021 alone, the U.S. lost 1.3 million acres of farmland. Do you all hear what I'm saying? We're approaching critical mass. In the year 2050, the world's population is estimated to be close to 10 billion. Crop production would have to be increased by 60% to feed all these people. That's without losing anything that we already have. So what, you might ask? There's farmland in South America, right? But who owns it? Guess who owns it? China. How do you like the idea of a government that hates us controlling our food supply? So why would you choose the almighty dollar for investors, who, by the way, might be foreign as well, to create a pipe dream of economic progress? I suggest this council do a 180 and start looking at the big picture. Move toward protecting farmland and create incentives for young farmers to fill the shoes of the farmers that on the average are well into their 60s. Again, we can't afford to lose even a tablespoon more of farmland. We all know this project unchecked will do just that. Folks, you can eat a car. You can't eat a car, a house, or a dollar bill. Food production is in jeopardy in this country, and whoever controls the food supply controls the world. So I'm asking you all to just take a pause and listen to the people of Fairplay. I've got about, and surrounding areas, I've got 120 petitions signed mostly by farmers asking you to take a pause and reconsider what you're doing. And I'd like to enter them into the record, if I may. Thank you very much.
Win Federal.
My name is Gwen McPhail, and I'm a farmer now. I was a school teacher for 31 years. I spent a lot of time talking to young people who did not have access to land, who wanted to farm, were afraid they wouldn't be able to buy the farm. And just briefly, I would like to point over here to the wall and remind council that that green section in the lower corner of the county was designated in our comprehensive plan as agricultural preservation land. If you look closely at all the little green spaces in the map on the left-hand side, those are areas where people have personally requested individual agricultural zoning within that area that was designated for preservation. In addition to that, there are over 2,500 acres of land that are under federal permanent easements, conservation easements that will preserve those green spaces. But I would also like to remind you that we have bought equipment from farmers in the Charlotte area where subdivisions grew up around their farms to the point that there were no fields left to farm. And I think that if you go anywhere, I think one of the other speakers later on will bring up some information about the fact that if you go to any other county where the door is open to sewer, agriculture can no longer exist. If there was no intention to expand sewer beyond to exit 1, why would there be thousands of dollars spent for a study that tells you what it might look like if it happened? So some people are saying, some of the main pushers are saying that, you know, a man should be able to do anything that he wants to with his property, whether it's stack junk cars on it or sell it to Dollar General. But one of those same people told me that my family didn't have the right to put a permanent easement on our property to preserve green space for the future. Others represent constituents of yours in different districts that are already wealthy and will be extremely wealthy if this project goes through. But when they're talking in our community, one of the things that they're talking about is all the jobs this project will bring. What I'm not sure they bring up often enough is that if this becomes a resort community or a resort development, most of those jobs will be service-oriented, changing sheets and waiting tables. So I'm not sure that's exactly the kind of jobs that we want to spend this many millions of dollars and this much destruction of ag land to bring to the county. Neither of them have ever mentioned the 4,000 acres of family farms the project would jeopardize with the spread of urban development. I am asking tonight that you take the time to consider spending any available funding to improve our current infrastructure rather than saddling the citizens of Oconee with an undetermined future tax bill, as this project sprawls into areas where it is neither needed nor wanted. Thank you.
And Andy Whitten. Wait.
Yes, I'm Andy Whiten. Thank y'all for giving me an opportunity to speak tonight. First of all, I'm a fourth generation farmer here in Oconee County. Born and raised here. I feel like God put me on this earth to farm. That's all I've ever done. That's all I know how to do. Farming my dad, my brother. The biggest concern about Sewer South is the sprawl. I understand, what y'all are saying is going to exit 1 first. But once you open this door, how do we shut it? I've spoke to many people, some of y'all sitting here about this, and I cannot get an answer about how we're going to control the growth once it starts. You go to Commerce, Georgia, you go to Anderson County, you go to Greenville County, look at the sprawl. I have people that I'm friends with in Greenville County that are selling their farms today, moving to North Carolina or Georgia, just so they can be able to farm. I have a little girl, she's 2. She already loves the farm. We take her every chance we get, everywhere we can. I want her to have the same opportunities that I've had in this county to farm, make a living for my family, and feed the world. There again, the Commerce Park. My biggest fear there, we've already spent the money as taxpayers. We've all paid money in to purchase that property. We have paid money in to build the driveway. Now we're going to pay money to grade it on a hope and a dream that an industry will come, or a warehouse, or whatever. I've got a friend in Anderson County. The fire department next to his house just purchased a new ladder truck to service Michelin. Said their insurance required that the county buy this fire truck for them to be able to have insurance. It was $1.1 million for 1 fire truck. Have y'all considered the extra emergency services, the extra police force? With more people becomes more crime. I have friends in law enforcement. I-85 is the main drug corridor in the southeast. When you have more places for people to stop, your crime rate's going to go up. The drug abuse is going to go up. Drug trafficking, human trafficking. There's so many things that can happen from this sewer project going in if there's not any kind of restraints on it. And I've been told by numerous people, well, we can put those restraints. Okay, 3 years from now, 5 years, council changes. Y'all take those regulations out, open it wide open. Here goes our way of life. Agriculture is done in the county at that point. As of 2017, in the past, for 10 years, we lost 13,000 acres of farmland in the county. That number's probably up 15 to 16,000 by now. Most of the farmland that we have is in the Fairplay area. We have some in Seneca and some in Westminster, but the majority of our farming takes place in Fairplay. It's the best soils in the upstate. I just ask you to please protect and preserve. When you sit down at your table tonight, remember where that chicken come from. We have 368 chicken houses, I believe, in the county. What are we going to do with these chicken houses when subdivisions try to come in and move beside them? We won't be able to fertilize. We won't be able to do anything. We'll be choked out as a farming community. Agriculture is the #1 industry in South Carolina and in Oconee County. And I ask you to please put it as your #1 consideration with this project moving forward. Thank you.
Tim Donald.
Thank you guys for the opportunity to speak. I'm Tim Donald. I'm a farmer in southern Oconee County. I've been there since 1986 farming my land. I also serve on the executive committee of South Carolina Farm Bureau Federation. So I have a lot of opportunity to study statistics related to farm loss. That's one of the main concerns nationwide is farm loss. We used to consider urban sprawl being our biggest threat. It's not that anymore. It's rural development. When sewer goes into a rural community, it's the beginning of the end to that rural community. We've seen it time and time again throughout this state and our neighboring states. Development follows sewer. Usually it's industry, followed by commercial, followed by residential. This state from 2001 to 2016, lost 281,000 acres of farmland to development. And as Andy just said, in that same time frame, we averaged right here in Oconee County about 1,000 acres per year. And I think one of the other speakers mentioned the national farm loss, which is 2,000 acres per day happening today. If these current trends continue, by the year 2040, we will experience food chain shortages in this country. You know, a few years ago, that was unheard of. And some of you might think that's hyperbole, but it's not. The stats are in. American Farmland Trust has been in the business of studying this very thing for 42 years. So they've taken what stats they have now and projecting from 2016 to 2040. And that's if current trends continue, but the trends are not continuing, they're accelerating. So that's going to put us in jeopardy sooner than 2040. Rural development is our biggest threat, hands down. Now, we know that growth is inevitable. That's going to happen. We understand that. We're not against growth. I'm not up here trying to say keep everybody out. That's not what we're about. But there's a way to grow in a smart way. And we need to be encouraging policies that will encourage smart growth. Smart growth is to enhance the municipalities you already have, improve those areas to recruit industry and development. That's where the workforce is. We know we've got cities in this town, cities in this county that could use some help in recruiting industry. That they really need some help with their tax base. And there's a lot of poor counties in this state that our governor has promoted rural infrastructure. That's not the case with Oconee County. When the county bought the Commerce Park, I wasn't in favor of it. I figured that'd be the beginning of the end. But we didn't oppose it because at that time we needed jobs. That's not the case now. Phase one of Sewer South, or the sewer system, if it don't happen, phase two can't happen. Phase two don't happen, phase three can't happen. But after reviewing the report from your engineers and planners, it opened my eyes to the possibilities of what this could look like. Has anybody done a study to see what this development might look like in 10, 15, 20 years from now? The report I saw would jeopardize all the farmland in southern Oconee County. That's unacceptable. Even the prime farmlands was acknowledged in this area and said that wouldn't even be a constraint to development. So we realize, really? So we realize growth's going to happen, but let's get ahead of the game and do it right. Get the input from all the affected people, not just a select few. Let's hear from the real people, the real stakeholders, and that's mostly the farmers in Oconee County. Thank you.
Charlie Whitten? Whiten? I'm sorry. Pronunciation is not my forte.
How y'all doing tonight? I'm Charlie Whiten, fourth generation farmer. Lived in South Union, South Carolina all my life. My grandfather farmed probably 1,200 acres in Fairplay. My grandfather on my daddy's side came from East Denali, Georgia, over here, back in the 20s to farm. Andy just got up. He's my son. We have a lot at stake in this thing. And as y'all look, y'all have a good idea of what's going on in this county. We have put Oconee County at the top of the map in the state for agriculture. We have a diversified agriculture going on all the time. Everything from apples to soybean. I go around to the schools, promote agriculture. I'm also on the ag committee with the county. When I talk to these little children, They want to know everything about those big tractors and combines and stuff that we run. They want to know, they want to see. They want to know where their food comes from. But with rural development coming in and concrete coming in, we can't do that, y'all. But as I go and I talk to these kids and I explain to them, I have a poultry operation too, grow for field out. And I explain to them that we grow the soybeans in Oconee County. They go to Cargill, Cargill processes them, Fieldale buys the feed, they use the oil for different, everything from crayons to car seats to everything else in our food. The meal comes back in our chicken houses and it makes a big circle. And I have teachers in our school district that is amazed how much agriculture is in this county. Y'all are in the spotlight. The Carolina Foothills Heritage Fair helped do this. And we came up with that years ago, myself and a couple more in here, to make this thing shine. Y'all are blessed to be here. Let's shine agriculture. Let's don't worry about bringing in other plants from other countries or whatever. Let's shine what we have. And I'd like to thank each of y'all. Take us in consideration. Would you? We have a lot to lose. We have a lot to lose in this county. Next time you go to pull up that piece of chicken, say, thank God. I'm glad I have farmers in my county that I support, that I am a member of, growing food that's going all over this world. Thank you for your time.
Alan Neal?
Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Alan Neal, concerned citizens from Fairplay, South Carolina. Unlike many in here, I'm actually a first-generation farmer. And I chose to move to Fairplay, bought a nice little farm that me and my wife, we enjoy. We both work off the farm, but it is a piece that we enjoy after that intensive day of whatever it may be. We come back to our little community of Fairplay and we're able to enjoy that lifestyle. Not only for me, not only for my wife, but for my kids also. They really enjoy that. So I'm concerned about, as it's been expressed many times, the sewer, what it will bring down to Fairplay. And as I look at the project as a whole, I started talking to different individuals to try to get more knowledge. And so Chris talked to me with me last Friday. Me and him talked about the sewer, and he educated me some on how it works. But one thing he did specify, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is that he said they're currently having issues with demand in the Seneca and Clemson area, where most people want to live, which is understandable. They want to be closer to convenience, which is good for them. So as a county, as we're looking to invest money, would we not be better served to invest money to where the demand is already needed and where we're struggling already, instead of wasting, and we have no idea what the final total will be to potentially destroy an area that so many people are passionate about and we want to protect for the future. Because this ain't like the sewers that's going through some of the worst farmland in Oconee County. It's going through some of the best farmland in Oconee County. The prime soils is located down in that area. And so I would like to know, as a taxpayer of Oconee County, what is the total cost analysis for this project that everybody's wanting to run? I hear that I don't have final numbers. I don't know what the numbers are going to be. But as me, as an investor, or I may want to do something for my business, I look at the return on investment. Okay, so I know I'm going to spend this money. What's my return on investment going to be? And in this situation, I'm yet to hear of any committed industry that wants to come in and say, I'll be there, any total for the final tally of what it's gonna cost, there's always, we've got a good idea what it may be, but there's never a total. So, for me, in an area that currently doesn't want that, and I asked my little girl, she's 8 years old, before I came up here. Her name's McKenna. I said, McKenna, how would you like it if houses are all around you? She said, oh, I wouldn't like that at all. As we're driving home, sometimes we see the Wittens out there, or Whitens out there with their combine, and she enjoys watching that machine. Every child does, ever does. But, so I just want to leave you with this, and this is off your county website. It's the vision statement for Oconee County. And it states, Oconee County, a diverse, growing, safe, vibrant community guided by rural traditions and shaped by natural beauty, where employment, education, and recreation offer a rich quality of life for all generations, both today and tomorrow. That's y'all's vision statement for this county. And we're here to ask you, guys, to help us protect the natural resource that we have down at Fairplay, South Carolina. Thank you.
So I have one written comment. It's from Mr. Luke Moore. I'll read that into the record. I'd like to ask each of you to vote against Sewer South project at this time. I live in Fairplay, and I have my ear to the ground with the locals. I'm finding the opposition to this project to be over 90% from the residents of Fairplay. There are several reasons for this. One is that there are major concerns over the wording of the documents from the Sewer Commission. I went to a recent meeting to get clarification on several areas of concern for the farmers and residents of Fairplay. One concern is that the documents read, as we have heard, that anybody who has a boundary within 300 feet of the sewer will be required to hook to the sewer when a septic tank needs to be replaced or new construction occurs. I would like to point out again that if you have to cross another man's land to hook to sewer, that is impossible to force that neighbor to allow his yard to be dug up for the new customer to hook to the sewer. The only option is a court order against the will on the neighbor or eminent domain, depending on the situation. Also, section 2.4 says that animal excrement could be regulated. What does this mean to farmers? It was way too vague. Another concern is the fact that the Golden Quarter Commerce Port is basically the failed previous sewer south. Everything needed to draw customers has been there for years, and it hasn't earned back a single dollar for the taxpayers of Oconee. While we're doing the same thing at a higher price, less than 2 miles away would be the golden ticket. We only have Welcome Center to be a customer. This will mean the taxpayers of Oconee will be on the hook to subsidize this for unknown length of time and an unknown price. How is this responsible? I ask you not to pass a project that nobody knows the extent it will affect the people financially. It is irresponsible to the citizens represent and is unnecessary. I'll stop here as I could go on for an hour. Please vote no, at least until this is better understood to the point that you can answer questions, clarifying all the points of concern to those that will be affected by this choice. Thank you, and that was submitted by Luke Moore. Okay, council member comments, and I'd like to start.
Can you check your list, please? I think there was another speaker signed up.
There's a couple of them that got scratched out by themselves.
Justin Abels should be on there.
Sorry?
Justin Abels.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
I'd like to motion to open the floor if somebody would like.
Yes, yes, you're on it here. I'm sorry, I missed it. Excuse me.
County Council, my name is Justin Abels. I'm the Oconee County Farm Bureau President. More importantly, I'm a fifth-generation farmer. My family's been farming the same land since 1907 in the Oakway, Earls Grove area. I have 2 little boys at home that will be 6th generation, ages 6 and 2, if they choose to do so. It is my hope that we allow, and when I say we, I mean you, allow them the opportunity to do that because the power is in your hands. I've known Councilman Miles my entire life. I went to church with him. He knows he's known my family. His son is a poultry farmer. Just like you've heard, all these people behind us are all farmers with an interest in the southern end of the county. Now, we understand the county wants progress. I'm not saying we should get in the way of the progress. But if we go down here to exit 2 and we put the sewer in if we go to exit 1 and we put the sewer in. Now, my understanding and listening tonight is the pump station at exit 1, the only purpose of that is for the Welcome Center. Now, to me, that's a waste of money, but that's just my personal opinion. But if you could come and you could tell all this group behind me right now that that would stop right there, exit 2, exit 1. And I could even get on board with exit 4 because I understand. I've had two, my father and my grandfather both sat where you are. My father was the chairman of county council back in 2004 when they purchased the property down on 59. That's about 1.5 miles, 2 miles from my house as it stands right now. Back to my point, if y'all could tell us that this growth would only occur on the interstate, we could probably all, okay, that's okay. But I'm 3 or 4 miles from Fairplay, and I know, because I drive to Seneca every day to drop my child off Trinity Baptist Church, what's going on with these tract home developments. You have to have a population in order for this industry, they got to have jobs. People need jobs apparently. But on my way up here today, up Highway 11, there's looking for help, looking for help, looking for help, looking for help. You can't fill what you already have now in the county. I've spoken with Councilman Hart, Mr. Durham last night. They both came to our Farm Bureau meeting, and we keep hearing what happens when Duke Power shuts down. What happens? We had a conversation with Ms. Brock the other day. We've been told it's 28 to 30 years away that the agreement right now that is signed. My question to you is, what happens when farmers are gone in this county? What happens to each one of you who cares about lights, electricity, water, any of that, if you can't put food on your table? Now, in this country, we've moved away from we're moving away from agriculture. Every generation that goes further is further from the farm. I know I graduated from Clemson University. Everybody I graduated with, most of them didn't go back into agriculture. Most of them went into the service industry. All we were doing, and as we are here tonight, is to ask you, just take a step back and realize the importance of Oconee County agriculture. I heard numbers last night, $150 million just the poultry industry last year in the county. I was met by Mr. Hart saying, well, Yoder's did that last year. That's just a small portion of Oconee County agriculture. Please consider what this will look like for our area. We got a crowd we can fill this room up 10 times with the farmers in our area that are upset with what's happening. Thank you for your time.
Does anyone else want to speak? If not, council member comments, and thank you for all the comments. We need to hear from all citizens, and I'd like to encourage all the farmers to get together and do what's called citizens-initiated zoning to protect their farmland from development. Zoning your farmland agricultural protects your farmland from development. And Ms. McPhail, we know how to do that.
But it doesn't always protect. I'm sorry, I'm out of order, but it does not protect.
Would you have her step forward?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you starting that conversation. Gwen McPhail, one more time. Yes, sir. We have initiated citizen zoning. However, there is a farm right next to us. We have 600 acres that is not only zoned, but is in a federal conservation easement. Okay, but the farm next to us, their children are gone. They're not on the farm. If they put their land up for sale and a developer purchases it, the next thing we know, we could have 240 new neighbors who are going to come up and down and up and down and up and down our road. Our farm is split by Pine Grove Road. In order to operate, we have to move our cattle regularly from one side of Pine Grove Road to the other. How are we possibly going to be able to do that if we have 240 new homes just down the road from us? So zoning is a tool. but it does not protect us if the land around us is sold. And that's why it's so important to look at a base of land and say, we are going to preserve this. The citizens that are here, as I have done everything that we can. We have also been told most recently that precedent has now been set in the state of South Carolina for eminent domain to override a federal easement in the installation of a sewer plant. So if you don't think that some of us aren't shaking in our boots at this point, we are. Particularly when we consider the limited number of people who will benefit from what this sewer will provide in the way of investment and return on their money compared to what we have invested. If I may, how many farmers in here have a tractor that costs over the cost of an ambulance at $315,000? And we take that on ourselves. We don't charge anybody to take them anywhere, and we don't get any return on that money. We have to pay those kind of bills to keep operating. So thank you, sir, for offering that, and we have, and we're encouraging people to do that, but it's not a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but I would encourage everyone here that has not zoned their property agricultural, please do so.
There's most of us have. There's a few who were scared out of it, I'll be honest. There was a little bit of a battle during that. Some people were told wrong about what it meant. They were told they couldn't sell their tractors because that was commercial. So they pulled out of agricultural zoning, which is scary. You know how rumors go. But we're working on that.
Yeah,
thank you, sir. Appreciate that time.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask Gwen something. She seems to have all the answers. I didn't mean that to be.
No, sir. Yeah, I appreciate that.
So you give this example, and I know where your farm is. I went to school with your husband. We graduated together, and y'all been a long-established farming. But you give the example of the property next door or next to you. What is the answer? If that family is dead and gone, the kids are gone, what is the answer to protect you by that piece of property?
You're going to get me run out of town on the rail right now.
Let me go a little further. Oconee County is not in the business of, how do I say this? Purchasing property to protect your property. So I pose the question, what is the answer to it? It will have to be handled on a private way.
Well, this is where I'll get run out of town on the rail. If you go up north to other states where they have seen this threat for much longer than we currently see it, they actually draw a line themselves. I'm going to say that evil word zoning. They actually draw a line across their states or around their cities, and they say, this is where we're going to develop, this is where we're going to preserve food, grow food. So that's one way. Certainly you can do top-down zoning. Please don't anybody shoot me.
If we did that.
I know. You'd be voted out. I'd be run out of town and tarred and feathered. I understand that. But if this total project, I believe the engineering projected cost on that, if that study that we paid for that we don't intend to do, but if we take that $60 million and put it in the conservation bank so that farms can take that money and preserve the land. The people that don't want to stay on it anymore can retire and go away and take that easement payment as their retirement, and it locks the price of the land at the agricultural level. Then maybe Justin's children can afford to buy property next to them and expand their farm. That's one way, other than zoning. But, the young farmers are currently working on a sort of a give and take where they're reaching out to young people, trying to connect young people with old people who want to see their farm, as a farm, and don't want to sell it. Most of the time when it gets sold, I'll be honest, it's sold by children that are living someplace else. They didn't want to farm and they left. They're living in New York or wherever, and that's how they. But the way to preserve it is to preserve access to the land at a reasonable cost, and that allows the farmers to buy it versus the developers out of Chicago. Is that a good enough potential answer?
You hit several points.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'll reserve anything else I was gonna ask.
I mean, we'll be happy to
I'd
sit
like to
down and
talk to you later.
Okay, yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other council member comments? Yes, sir.
I got plenty. One thing I'll say, just because it kind of came to heart, I don't know where Justin Abel signed up on that sheet, but you were meant to go last. So maybe that's why we forgot you, I don't know. Appreciate you, what you talked about. So it kind of rings home with a lot of this stuff. So when we start talking about a project, I know a lot of people don't know everything we do, because, you know, it's a lot. You know, we start talking about Sewer South and what it looks like and the thought process behind it and why we're doing it. You don't always look at things till what the actual meaning behind that project is. So I want to say one thing, or I guess it's a number, and the number is 3. It takes 3 people to implement a project. It takes 3 people to change a project, and it takes 3 people to implement an entire project. And it's just money. At the end of the day, it's what 3 members of council up here decide how this council or how this county is going to grow. And if you want to, you know, I hear, you know, we need to, you know, development's coming. Well, that depends. It depends on how, as a council member, we push for development. If we want development to go a specific way, we can do things in order to make it go a specific way. We can put sewer in certain places. But if you go out here and you ask, where is the #1 requested place for sewer? Raise your hand if you think it's the interstate, because it's not. It's not the interstate. It's Clemson. Everybody knows it. And it's not just for student housing. Everybody thinks it's student housing. It's not just for student housing. So the other thing is, do you think it's exit 1 is the #1 request for sewer? It's not. Do you think it's exit 2? It's not. It's exit 4. Why? Topography. So again, I live on a family farm. I have horses and chicken. My uncle does all the cattle farming, so I'm not a cattle farmer, but you know, I live out there farming. It's been part of my family. So when we talk about what we're doing if we're doing this when Duke Power leaves, I mean, I'll shine the light on it. When Duke Power leaves, what happens? Your taxes go up. It's as simple as that. So if we want to raise taxes incrementally till we think Duke Power is going to leave, when they're putting all these extensions out there and they are doing a phenomenal job. I mean, honestly, Oconee County is what it is because of the people and because of Duke Power. It is a very affordable place to live. We've had great industries coming in here, but we don't need to have an additional 50,000 employees here. We do need to make sure that we are continuing to add investments in here. And that's why, as you'll see on this, we'll probably get to it at 11:30 tonight, the development and grading of that park that was put in here before any of us have sat on here, that investment was put in. Nobody sitting on this council decided to buy that land down there. Nobody on this council voted to run sewer down to 59. That was done before us. So our job here is to take that investment and actually recoup something from it. And so that's kind of what we're doing. So, you know, 2 of the last budgets have been passed 3-2. 2 council members have voted against the last 2 budgets, but yet I hear, oh, the budget's high, the budget's raising. What do you think's going to happen when Sewer South? Who's going to pay for it? The budget's going to rise. Raise your hand if you think I'm lying. I'm not. That's what causes budget to go up when you have huge expenses like this. So if the Welcome Center is a customer at 15,000 gallons, I don't know what they're going to pay, a couple $100, maybe $1,000 a month. But who else is going to pay the other? We want people to tie into it, right? And then I've known this, but I wanted y'all to hear it. I'm not throwing Chris under the bus because it's fact. You can't tie into it unless you do what? Run more lines to it. So that's implementation of the plan that's here. So again, I come into, all it takes is 3 people to run more lines. And when it's all about the money and not about the farming, which again, and I know it was stated, it's the #1 industry in South Carolina. It's not Duke Power, it's agriculture. So again, I think that's important, and we need to push our kids into agriculture. I know, you know, you're not gonna be a millionaire over there, but I think Marlene Willoughby says she's the richest person in there, and if you see her out selling her squash and everything else, she always has a smile on her face. So, but again, you know, if you go back and you look at my strategic plans, I am for development of sewer for economic development reasons. And I think the majority of people I talk to, they talk about that. But when it just sprawls out of control, like I have felt like it has in the last 3 or 4 months, to where it's, you know, literally, I have people putting on the internet that I want it running down 24 so Cedar Lane Road can get sewer. Keep that stuff off my land. I am not interested in sewer. But I wanted to kind of give some clarification that it's not the Joint Regional Sewer Authority. It's not anybody on that board that's pushing for this. It's coming from some special interest, which apparently I'm for, but everything's a special interest. Farming's a special interest. So, you know, it's not a bad word when you hear special interest, but I'm grateful that people are involved in this. I'm grateful that people are actually communicating and talking about it. And several of y'all are for certain parts of Sewer South, and several of y'all are against all of it, and that's grateful. But being part of the government and listening to it is good. I'm not gonna agree with you all the time. And I mean, if you followed Oconee County Council, I've taken plenty of scrutiny. So, you know, and Mr. Adams, I'll speak to you. You know, sometimes we cut you off for 4 minutes because you speak pretty much at every council meeting. So we add all your 4 minutes up and your overages. So, you know, we'll try to cut those out. So I'm just joking with you because, you know, I don't always agree with you, but you actually speak. So I appreciate that, even if I don't agree. But as we move forward with anything on this, you know, things can move along quickly. And I want you to remember, it's 3 people. It's 3 people. And I was on the outside of it, and that's okay. I've never been the one vote on council, but I'm grateful that, you know, we're communicating, regardless of where we're at. So, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any more comments? If not, I'll make a motion. We take a 5-minute recess.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there a motion to reconvene?
Make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Carried outside.
First reading the following ordinance. Ordinance 2023-04, an ordinance authorizing the execution and delivery of a real property lease agreement between Oconee County as lessor and the Rosa Clark Medical Clinic Association, Inc., as lessee in relation to certain county-owned property located adjacent to the Oconee County Manager's Office located at 1600 East Main Street, Westminster, South Carolina, and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Voted 4-0.
First and final reading of the following resolutions. Resolution 2023-01, a resolution approving and authorizing Oconee County's consent to the extension of a lease agreement between Kara H. Orr with Gloria Faye Orr Bastion, Glenda O. Brock, Susan O. West, as necessary, and Hubbard Paving and Grading, Inc., and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, this thing was supposed to be under a 15-year, which would have run out the 25th. Is that what?
25?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And they had written into the lease with the Orrs and the Hubbards that extension provision, so we're agreeing to it, the county's agreeing to that extension. Not necessarily that the county's an essential party to it, but they asked for our consent, so here it is.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 4-0.
Resolution 2023-02, a resolution, one, acknowledging the lapse of the development agreement between Oconee County and Kiwi River Preservation Group, LLC, dated September 28, 2010, and two, approving and authorizing Oconee County's consent to the formal termination of the agreement and other matters related thereto. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 4-0.
Resolution 2023-03, a resolution regarding the Duke Energy Emergency Siren Warning System and activation thereof. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 4-0.
Discussion regarding action items. Discuss and authorize county administrator to execute letter agreement with PSL Seneca Popco LLC, clarifying intent as to the timing of special source revenue credit reimbursement. Is there any discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 4-0.
Receive and discuss report from Agricultural Advisory Board Chair regarding board members' failure to attend required meetings. And let's see, I got a letter from Kim Alexander. She's the Agricultural Advisory Board Chairperson. Mr. Larry Cantrell of District 2 was appointed February 2nd, 2021, and has failed to attend 15 meetings, with his last appearance being August the 9th, 2021. According to the code,
You make a motion to remove.
I'll second it.
any discussion? All in favor?
Vote is 4-0.
All right.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
As we move forward, can the committees themselves just put a request, like, I know that's a request from the committee, but can the committees not, can we not put something that just states that if a person isn't there, does it have to come back before council to do that?
It does.
Period?
Period, yeah.
Okay. All right, council consideration and approval of cooperation agreement, grant agreements, and work authorization to clear, grade, and make pad ready 42 acres of the Golden Corner Commerce Park. Let's see. So this was left off the agenda, so I'll read it. At a June 1st, 2022 meeting, council approved the award of RFP 20-02 for on-call engineering services to Thomas and Hutton Greenville for Category E, on-call general engineering services. It's staff's recommendation that council, one, authorize administrator to execute the cooperation agreement between the Blue Ridge Electric Cooperative of Coney County, Palmetto Economic Development Corporation, Power Team, and the South Carolina Department of Commerce that will provide funding from the Power Team and the state of South Carolina to clear, grade, and make pad ready 42 acres at the Golden Corner Commerce Park. Authorize the county administrator to execute a grant award agreement between Coney County and the South Carolina Department of Commerce in order to receive funding from the South Carolina Department of Commerce to grade and make pad-ready 42 acres at Golden Corner Commerce Park consistent with the terms of the cooperation agreement. 3, authorize the administrator to execute an economic development grant agreement between Oconee County and the Power Team in order to receive funding from the Power Team to clear, grade, and make pad-ready 42 acres of the Golden Corner Commerce Park consistent with terms of the cooperation agreement. 4, authorize the county administrator to negotiate such other documents and instruments which may be necessary or incidental to the corporation grant agreements and to execute and deliver any such documents and instruments on behalf of the county. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I do want clarification, so the grade is a little bit over 60 acres. So, when, you look at that, 42 acres, a big site, so I just wanted the parking lot is the other 20 some odd acres, so it's actually a 60-plus acre grade.
You have 60-plus acres of movement of dirt. There's actually 42 that will be what we call pad ready, meaning a building can go on it from day one. The rest is just some clearing and grading of the dirt, but it's not pad ready. Is that correct, Ryan?
Yes.
Mr. Page, if you could please step to the podium and state your name for the record.
My name is Ryan Page, and I'm with Thomas and Hutton. Worked on the Golden Corner Commerce Park for several years now, and the proposed project would have a 42-acre pad, and the remainders detention ponds and tie slopes. So cut, fill slopes for the grading exercises extends out beyond that pad area.
I got a question. You don't have to reveal it, but if you already did the rough volume calculations?
We've done a conceptual, review of it with the state and the Power Team to try to get an idea of what the scope of the project is.
Okay, well, I saw the contour lines on there, and I knew that you had raced those out with your grading, so I'm a surveyor, so I have a little comprehension of what you're doing for as with the programs. You could say X number of yards here, it'll tell you, the computer will.
That's correct.
Yeah, so I just, was wondering if y'all have already got to that point. I'm not asking you for the volume.
Okay.
I'm just asking you, have y'all got to the point that you yourself have a good idea of what the volume is?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, we set a budget based off of what the prices were, going in the market probably 2, 3, 4 months ago. So trying to set a budget off of numbers that are constantly moving is in flux, but we think we have a good number. And we've done detailed reviews of the contours and the grading on site.
This GIS has really made it easier for your type of work for us figuring volumes and laying grade in and having it to tell you how much cut and fill you got and how to balance it and all that.
Yes, sir. This site's actually, we've got a field survey run on this one already. So we're going off a field topo. So I'm confident in the scope we got set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I thought, and maybe I missed it, was item number 5 of the request for council read, which was the approval of the award to Thomas and Hutton at 169,385? I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
It was stated.
There's a page I failed to see. Thanks, sir. Number 5, approve the award to Thomas Hutton of Greenville, South Carolina, in the amount of $169,385 for engineering to include consulting, design, and permitting for the
I'm sorry.
for the clearing and grading of 42 acres.
Motion approved.
Okay, so
I'll approve that again.
approve it again. Is there a second on that one?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, any discussion now? All in favor?
That is 4A.
Okay, get ahead of myself there. Okay.
Bigger pages. Illegal.
Board and commission appointments. Conservation Bank Board, District 1, District 3, 1 at-large seat. District 1, the 2 questionnaires requested appointment, and I nominate Mr. Gordon Becker for District 1. All in favor? Aye.
That is 4O.
District
Mr.
3.
Chairman?
Yes.
I'm very sorry. There was an appointment for the Oconee Economic Alliance member appointment by council.
I keep missing
apologize.
things.
It's okay.
Okay, you're right. Oconee, Mr. Davis threw me off. Oconee Economic Alliance member appointment by council. In the past, or at least in the last, I guess, 8 years, the chairman of the Economic Development Planning Committee has been appointed by council. So I make a motion to appoint Mr. Davis, who's chairman of the Economic Development Planning Commission, for this position. All in favor? Aye. Okay. Does anybody else want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'm gonna nominate Mr. Mize. I was waiting on you to get through reading it, and then, you made your nomination before you put your apostrophe in.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Guess we have nobody. Any other nominations? Okay. Let's see, we did note District 1, so Conservation Bank Board, District 3, Mr. Mize, that's yours?
Yes. And I nominate, Mr. Darrell, let me get over here to it, Mr. Darrell Keese.
All in favor? Aye.
That is 4O.
Okay, at large, one questionnaire requesting reappointment, and there was also a District 1, Mrs. Emmeline Jones that I nominate. She's been on the upstate conservation, so she's very knowledgeable. All in favor?
That is 4O.
Okay, Parks, Recreation, Tourism Commission, with 4 at-large seats, and there are 4 questionnaires requesting reappointment.
Nominate Alton Barnett.
All in favor? Aye.
Nominate Alex Butterball.
All in favor? Aye.
That is 4O.
Nominate Kevin Cope.
All in favor?
Aye.
That is 4O.
Nominate,
Johnson.
I nominate Riley Johnson.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. Building Codes Appeal Board, there are 3 at-large seats, 3 questionnaires requesting reappointment, and there's 1 questionnaire requesting appointment.
Nominate Josh Lust.
All in favor? Aye. 2-0?
2O.
No, okay. Any other,
Nominate Gilbert.
all in favor? Aye.
That is 4O.
Any other nominations? All right, the Planning Commission, District 3, 3 questionnaires requesting appointment, and Mr. Mize has requested that we hold off on that one. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, council will go in executive session for the following purposes. 1, discussion regarding a contractual matter with the city of Seneca, the town of Salem, the city of Walhalla, and the city of Westminster. 2, receive legal advice related to code enforcement procedures and respective litigation. Is there a motion to go in executive session?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Is there a motion to reconvene?
Second.
All in favor? No action was taken in executive session. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?